Hey guys, my name is Jake and I play in churches, and I wanted to do a rig rundown because I thought that it would be really fun just to be able to see how I use gear, because I know those videos are very helpful for me whenever I'm trying to look for new inspiration. And so I hope that this inspires you as well, not just for cool toys and things like that, but also to practice and to become a better musician. So let's start with my guitars, and then I'll jump into my pedal board rig, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so the first guitar I wanted to show you guys is this right here. This is my Gibson ES 330. You're like, Jake, you must not know guitars because 330s don't have humbuckers. Well, in the 70s, my uncle took this one and put a Bigsby on it, took a Bigsby off, all kinds of stuff. But he put humbuckers on it at some point because he wanted a little bit more output. And so this guitar has been in my family for many, many years, and it's super cool. It sounds super awesome. You can see like on that wild weather checking on it. It's just such a sick guitar. I don't take it out too much anymore. When I was a kid, I did all the time because I'm just now, I'm too afraid that something's going to happen to it. But this is probably the most precious guitar I own. Next, I've got my Fender Telecaster, super cool guitar. This is actually the American Deluxe. I know now they've got like a Fender Deluxe, and that's got a humbucker in the neck, but back when I was in high school, they had an American Deluxe, and that's what this is. And so it's basically a standard telly. It's got some weird S1 switch that when you're in the middle pickup position, it will actually give you like a boost. Needless to say, I never use it, but the American Deluxe I felt like was just a little bit more well crafted, and I love maple necks on Telecasters so much. It just sounds so good. This is like that quintessential Telecaster sound to me. So this is my newest guitar, and it's the one that I use a lot for less worship, more conventional playing. So this right here is my Gretch Power Jet. So the Power Jet, unlike the regular Duo Jet, it has locking tuners on the back, and it also has a pinned bridge rather than a floating bridge, so it helps you to keep it intonated a little bit better and things like that. So just a couple of modern upgrades, and also it's got, when you get them new, it comes with TV Jones Powertron pickups, which is sort of like a TV Classic Plus, but with more output. So it's designed to really bridge the gap between that single coil and humbucker, but lean towards that humbucker. Those pickups were cool. The neck pickup on it was actually super bright and punchy, which I liked a lot. But in general, I just prefer the sound of regular Tron style pickups, so I changed them out for TV Jones Classics. So now it's basically just a Duo Jet with upgraded pickups. So big fan of this guitar. It's one of my favorites. It's super bright. It sits out really well in a mix, and it's really easy to play, which I love a lot. So my Duo Jet. And lastly is the legend, the Gretsch White Falcon. This is the one with the center block. This is probably my favorite guitar to play out. It's just, especially in a worship context, it just has a very unique sound to it. The bridge pickup on this guitar is just absolute magic, and I love playing it. It's super easy to play. It's got a big neck. It's funny, this guitar in a lot of ways is actually not my preference because of how finished the neck is. I like necks that feel a lot more woody, like the Telly and things like that. But there's just something about this guitar that every time I plug it in, I'm just super inspired, and it doesn't even matter if it's a worship genre or something like that. I just love the way this thing sounds. So I actually did a poll on Instagram to see which of these guitars that, you know, some of the people who follow me on Instagram wanted to hear me demo with. And so when we go through the pedal board and the sounds, I will be using this guitar. All right, guys, so here is my pedal board. I'm going to go through the signal chain real quick, and then we'll dive into some sound examples, which should be pretty fun. So first off, you plug in from the guitar into the Empress Compressor, and from the Empress Compressor into the tuner side of the Chernobyl Tone VP Junior that has a Sonic Research strobe tuner in it, carbon fiber top. It's the coolest volume pedal in the world. It's got a never break string. I love it. Out of there into the Benson Preamp, and so that's my preamp section between these two pedals. Leave these two always on. From the Benson Preamp into my JHS Morning Glory, which is my Ride or Die overdrive. From here into the Sick As overdrive, into the Mad Professor Little Green Wonder, into the 1981 Drive, back into the volume section of the volume pedal, out of the volume pedal into the boost, out of the boost into the GFI Synesthesia, from there into the timeline, Bigsky, and then into my Goodwood audio output. And then right here is a Morningstar MC6 that I use to control these three pedals with a little bit more ease via MIDI. So let's dive in. At the end of this chain, I almost forgot to mention right here, you can kind of see the edge of it, is the HX Stomp. And I use a slightly modified version of David Hislop's amps. So, which might be sacrilege because everything he does is gold. But I just changed it up a little bit for my purposes, changed up the IRs a little bit. So that's what I'm using as an amp. And I'll show you guys that mini board because that mini board, there's a Daiso Plus at the end of it. I've got a little aux switch. And what's cool is that the mini board is just amps when I'm running my full pedal setup. But when I'm leading worship, I will use just my mini board. So I'll show you guys a little picture of that. But all right, so let's dive into the compressor. So here's what my tone sounds like with just running through everything turned off into the stomp. Not a bad sound there at all. So then going from there, we're going to add in the compressor at the top of the chain. So I've got it set pretty transparent and it's not doing too much squishing. I've got the mix down on it pretty low, but it just helps my notes to hold out a little bit longer on certain lead lines and to help make everything a little more evened out, which is great. So then from there, Benson Preamp. Love how this just brings a lot more life to my amps. So here's the dry sound again, or dry plus compressor, and then here is with the preamp. So yes, even back when I was using real amps, I always ran my amps pretty dirty, or a little crunchy, I guess you could say. So I love this as a foundational tone. And it cleans up really nicely too. So big fan there. So out of there, we go into my first stage drive, which is the JHS Morning Glory. And just a quick note about my overdrives. I'm pretty, I use these when I'm playing lead for the most part. And then this one I use mainly as a little boost when I need to have some overdrive on my rhythm playing. So that's almost exclusively what I use this one for. And then my kind of mentality towards it is I've got the Morning Glory, I've got a blues breaker, a clon, a tube screamer into a rat, and then a boost. So I don't do any amp simulation pedals, like, you know, those pedals that try to be amps in a box. That's just not something I'm really into. So tried a bunch of them. They sound cool when other people use them, but they don't agree with me. So here we go with the Morning Glory. Here's what it sounds like without it. So that's my favorite overdrive. I love it so much. It's just so stinking good. I don't know how to describe it other than that. It's just so stinking good. So out of that into the Sick As. So this one doesn't have quite as much of the high-end character as the Morning Glory, so I feel like it sits in really well with rhythm playing. And this pedal cleans up better than I think any of my overdrives, where it could just get super clean. Throw on the neck pickup and... So just love this pedal, it's super great. Moving on from there, Mad Professor Little Green Wonder. So this guy I use for pretty much any time I'm playing lead. Every now and again, I will stack it with the Morning Glory. Matter of fact, let me show you what that sounds like stacked. So here's what it is without stack. With the stack. So it just gives me a little bit more bite. If I have a bigger lead line, I will put this on. And matter of fact, I'll actually do the same thing with the Sick As, where if I need a little bit more punch to it. But that particular sound I don't bring out super often, unless you're playing like Good Grace or something like that. So then I go into my 1981 Drive. So here's what that sounds like. Love this pedal. It's my big lead sound. Super, super dirty, and you don't have to turn the gain up much to get that, but you still get a ton of clarity. Just love this pedal. And if I need super spice, I'll put some Morning Glory on it. So super cool sound there, big fan. And one of my favorite pedals of all time. Huge shouts to my wife for letting me buy this on the way to a trip once. So then obviously we've got a great volume pedal and tuner, and then it goes into this boost. So what I love about this boost is that if I've got a sound like this, I can throw on this boost and not get a ton of extra overdrive. It's just kind of magical, and it doesn't matter what pedal it is. Like, it could be a Little Green Wonder sound where I'm just like, throw this on. I just feel like you don't get a lot of that extra overdrive and mud that sometimes boost pedals give you. So huge fan of this guy. So then we hit my MIDI pedals. So let me talk about how I use this simultaneously as I go through my MIDI pedals. So what we've got here is the GFI Synesthesia, and it's got several sounds on it, and I've got a particular bank in here that I use to control it, but I also control it on, I use both of these at the same time when I'm using this pedal. So first off, in bank A, I'll go through the modulation sounds that I use somewhat often. I've got a tremolo and a vibrato. So here's the tremolo. And I've got tap tempo here, so I can slow that down if I want to. So I think that sounds great. Then you've got the vibrato. Super cool. And I like that on this pedal, unlike a lot of other like big box modulations, you can use two modulations at the same time, unless it's a rotary. But anyway, so I could do a sound like this. So that's vibrato into tremolo, and you can change that up super easily how it's routed. So then on the B preset, I've got a chorus and an envelope filter. And so anybody who knows me knows that I love to just throw on that envelope filter, especially while campus pastors are trying to tell you to sign up to volunteer or something, and I'll just be doing one of these in the background. See, I played that longer than I should have because I just love this so much. So, love that. And then I've got a chorus. So great chorus. Of course, you can use them together. So then if I page up, I've got an octave pedal here. So I don't use a ton of high octave when I use octave most of the time, but of course I can always change up the preset if it's not right for the song. And then there's this detune chorus. So huge fan of that sound, and you can do them together and it makes a pretty cool sound. The way I've got these routed is a little different. So very cool. Kind of makes like a bit like what's that called? A bit crusher type sound. And so then you go to preset B. Here's a phaser that I never use. And a flanger that I never use. So almost never use those, but I program them in there just in case something random happened where I might need it. So then it gets into stuff that's a little bit more out there. So I've got a rotary. With the rotary, you'll see this switch turned yellow. And the reason being for that is because with the rotary, you have to use both sides of the pedal. So I just have a preset for that rather than one on each side and the other. And here's what that sounds like. Love the sound of a rotary. Do find excuses to use that one sometimes. And then on the other side, oh yeah, so this one's programmed a little different. So then you go to B, and you've got a univibe, so can't go wrong with that. Love it. So, and then a ring modulator. So, cool sound. It's nice to have when you need it. And then last page is one that's kind of wild and one that's really fun. So let's start with the one that's wild. I've got the lo-fi junk, which is kind of something that GFI had pre-programmed. So it gives you a lo-fi bit crushing sound. So here's the junky sound they call it. I'll go back to the bridge pickup. Add in that bit crusher. And you can kind of hear that, and then you can do the bit crusher by itself. Yep, you already knew what I was going for and did not play, but I was going for it. So then this one's really cool. It's hard to use this one live just because it introduces a lot of noise into the signal, but I'm just such a huge fan of the way it sounds. So here's the vinyl sound, starting off with the Phonos. So here's what that sounds like. And you probably only hear that on the left side. There's a reason for that, because these run stereo parallel. So one in one ear and one in the other. Then you got the record sound, which introduces this cool noise. Then you add them together, switch to the neck pickup, and you get this really cool sound. Now I'm just dinking around. Super cool sound. So big fan of this one. But then also on the GFI, not only can I select presets to find the one I'm looking for. We'll turn this off because of that noise. But I've also got this button here, which is tremolo all the time. So if I press this button, it takes me straight back to the tremolo. So that effectively takes me back to preset A. And so that's how I use the tremolo and all of that. So big fan of that. So now going into Timeline and Bigsky, of course, these guys, they need no introduction whatsoever. With the Timeline, I mainly use the tape setting, and with the Bigsky, I mainly use the cloud. But of course, I've been served well in many different situations. So checking this out here, the way I use it is if I'm doing a set, say it's like a really long set, like 10 songs or something. On the Morningstar, I've got a bank where if I hit A, it will do A on both of these, B on both of these. I've got a switch for an ambient verb in case I need to jump to quick swells, and then I can bank up or bank down simultaneously. So what I'll do is I'll organize all my overdrives, or rather organize all of my reverb and delay in order with each other, so that way I can just bank up through the set as I go. So that's how I like to do it. But then also a much more simple way is I've got the bottom row of these switches are this, and then the top row of these switches are this. So that way, if I don't want to program everything and I also don't want to reach over pedals, I can just use this, and the tap tempo affects both. So let's go with one of my main presets. I'll just use some dotted eighth delay to start because, you know, worship music. And here is what that sounds like through my rig. So love that sound. I think it's great. Then when I head into over here on the Bigsky, I've got a heavier reverb, and let me show you a little bit of what that sounds like. And here, let's take it old school. So Bigsky is magical. Every now and again, I'll even play lead lines with like a really heavy reverb. So like if you've ever heard, I don't know if I can actually pull this lead line out of my head right now, but this is a tremolo reverb that I like to use. And I really love that sound. So sometimes I'll use a really heavy reverb, even with you know, stuff that, you know, generally you wouldn't see a lot of people use that much reverb. I love reverb. I use a ton of it, and I tell my friends to use more of it, and not to listen to the naysayers who are embarrassed that they don't practice, and so they cover up their lack of practice with reverb. So use the reverb if it's appropriate. There's nothing that makes you a bad guitar player for not using reverb. I love reverb. Sounds great. And then here's my reverse delay. Here's kind of a cool way. One time I was playing with a friend of mine, and this is a lead line I played. And I just love doing stuff like this creatively in the moment. So. That's a really cool sound that I also really enjoy quite a bit. And then of course there's the eighth note sound, And for those of you who are fans of Elevation, this is one of my favorite lead lines from them. That's not exactly how it goes. I'm mainly just playing along, kind of giving an idea. But that's how I use all of that. There's a couple other reverbs and things like that in there, but these pedals could have their own video. So then everything goes out. I can sum to mono if I want. This whole board was wired by my friend Jordan Brazinski. He's super cool. He soldered all these pedals for me, made all these power cables, the whole shebang, and big fan of his. So go check him out. And I'll actually put his Instagram in the description. It isn't like super advertised all the time, but he's really good at what he does. So, but yeah, that's my pedal board. If you have any questions, throw something in the comments, and I'll get back to you. And looking forward to making more music with you guys. Thanks.